act like if you built an interstate with a rail train line down the center of it, then, great, it serves two purposes, but it only serves the one kind of antiquated purpose.
The lines that they're building aren't even where the lines are on our main roads. It's our rural areas where they're taking the railroads to frac sand stations for loading and unloading, right? And there's no way to make those railroads make sense. No way, because they're on both sides of Highway 95 when I'm coming, right?
Yeah.
Up here, full of cars. And what I'm thinking is that we need to ensure that our rural communities aren't alienated by our state legislature's decisions when it comes to infrastructure, right? We can't allow, like, I have no landline out at my house, okay? Because the landline that could be at my house, it was so off the grid or off the node, right? It was a click, 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 while we were talking. And it shouldn't be like that, because why we're in 2018? Why are our rural communities being cut off from the world and being disenfranchised from our social community?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, and infrastructure and roads and transportation budgets play a really big part of that. Because if we can't get to our jobs, guess what? Buffalo County is just going to continue to get poorer.
What is the name of your campaign committee?
My campaign committee is just Camacho for Wisconsin State Senate, District 31. Everything has the same name.
Where's District 31?
District 31 is just north of Onalaska,
Okay.
over to Black River Falls, up to the south end of Eau Claire, over to the river.
Ah.
So it's a real, like, when I looked at it, and I saw how big the area was, I was like, well, I don't know, But at the same time, Ho-Chunk Nation is over there, and when was the last time Ho-Chunk Nation had an indigenous senator that they could have represent them? Right. And
I'll
so,
be over there soon.
yeah, because when we think about it, treaty rights protect everyone. They really protect everyone. And Executive Order, is it 39 here in Wisconsin, recognizes our sovereignty as indigenous nations, and then thereby acknowledging our treaty rights. And so why are treaty rights continue to be trampled on when we have high capacity wells and all these corporations just being given our water? Where's our water going to be for our fishing and hunting rights? Right? It's not going to be there. We're not going to have fish. It's getting to that point where we're losing fish. We're in the 6th mass extinction.
Well, it's not only statewide, it's international.
Yes.
It's worldwide.
And so what's our part? What ripples are we creating? And I think that's what Wisconsin needs to take ownership for.
Okay, now back to food equality, or that's what I call it, food equality, as far as like Cisco and Reinhardt, small farmers competing against these big corporations. Is there such a thing as imposing a food nutritional value tax or something? Because you take something that was raised on an organic farm, like let's say a head of broccoli, and something that Cisco was pawning off as a head of broccoli, there's a vast difference.
Well, maybe
So
a
is there
conscious
any way of-
consumerism tax, and that would expand
Something.
beyond food, right?
Has anybody addressed this, or has
Not
the
that I
state-
know of. Not that I know of. Perhaps at one
Not in
time, but I
America.
haven't
What's that?
seen anything hit the floor.
Not in America. In Europe, there's like fat taxes and basically that kind of.
But I really think a conscious consumerism tax, right, would be something to consider.
There's also, I'm wondering maybe what your thoughts then on Wyoming's passed the Food Freedom Act. So basically you can purchase food direct from the consumer or direct from the producer, so long as you have their name and address and you know who they are. So that has opened up raw milk sales, and also then some of the smaller like poultry and things. It's still I think beef and pork is still regulated federally, so that hasn't opened up, but it's definitely opened up avenues for people to purchase more directly from people without having some of the market barriers, which is what a lot of the rural communities faces.
I don't know a lot of the fine details of that act.
Yeah.
If something like that were passed, I would most definitely advocate for it as long as it was equitable, right? It wasn't targeting just certain communities. It was across the state entirely. Also, I think that it would have to be a clean bill, right? I am done with all of these things that add all these little things that our legislators never read.
Writers.
right?
Yeah.
It's not okay. If we're going to pass legislation, it should be clear and concise enough that the average ordinary citizen can understand it and follow it. And how hard is it to follow our legislature when things are going all over the place? You think it's about education, but it's about something else. And that's the rule changing is where I'm getting at. I'm sick of politicians and legislatures going like this, saying we're gonna do this, but then they're busy with their other hand back here. It's not okay. We're taught that that's not okay as children, and why are we allowing that to take place within the adult population? We're setting a pretty poor example, but I have hope that we can set a better one. I think what we need to do is work with whomever your senator ends up being in the future, right? And start coalition building. You know, if I get elected over there, I would be more than willing to work with a senator anywhere in the state to bring some sort of legislation like this about. And that's what it really is going to take, is senators working together and finding common ground. And I think compromise is mistaken for common ground, right? And I think that before we go to compromising, we need to find the common ground and see where we can work from there. And then if we run into issues, then we compromise, but we don't give everything up at first.